Alright, guys, gals, and everything in between. Another week, another strain, which is always awesome. I mean, that's the way I like to have my Sundays. Okay, so this week of the strain was, I believe, titled The Bourne. Not to be confused with Matt Damon, but that would have been kind of weird if Jason Bourne was in the episode, but you never know. So The Bourne, we start out with a flashback from the Roman era, and that was kind of like, oh, are we going to watch Mr. Quinlan? And we do! So for the audiences of the TV show, this is your first true glimpse at Mr. Quinlan doing his awesome stuff, and he's fighting the Roman soldiers, and he's in a gladiatorial arena, and he takes them out with ease. And they bring up that some of the Roman politicians knew who he was, and that they wanted to use him so they could win certain battles in the Roman Empire. And they kind of hint that maybe he's responsible for falls of certain governments and that kind of stuff, and you're like, ooh, this guy's dangerous. Flashing forward, I really like seeing the relationship between Dutch and Fett. They have a really interesting off-and-on relationship, and Fett, you can tell, is really, really into her, and he's possibly falling for her, and Dutch she's kind of like that I'm not so sure right now kind of person, but yet at the same time she's still going along with it. So you know what? Fett's cool with that. They go out on a supply hunt to get the rest of Dutch's stuff, and this is where the plot thickens for Fett, because they find the girl that Dutch was with before, and you can see in Fett's eyes that he's not happy. It's like that moment that your significant other sees one of their exes, and they're like, oh hey, and they're acting a little more friendly than you'd like, and you just see him kind of look at him, and they're like, ugh, I hate people. He just keeps bringing stuff up because, remember, her money disappeared, her laptop disappeared. We don't know how that left, but she's the only other roommate with a key. So all of a sudden, Fett's just kind of like, yeah, so, where'd you go all this time? Seems kind of weird. She doesn't answer anything, and this really bothers Fett because he can see through it, because, you know, he's got the touch. Is coming home, and he goes and gets boozed up at a bar because he got shot, so that's understandable. I like the exchange between the bartender and F, where he's sitting there and he's like, you know, some people like to sip their drinks, and and F's just kind of look at him like, seriously, dude? Seriously? I'm whatever. And it was so great. Come back to the apartment, and all is well with F. He passes out because he doesn't want to show Nora his gunshot wound. And some of my favorite interactions in Season 2 on the show, for sure, have been the interactions between Satrakian and Fett. Because they get back to the apartment, and they're all kind of tense. Fett's just trying to get to the bottom of this sketchy roommate. And Satrakian is sitting there and is just kind of like, Mr. Fett, I've been waiting for you all day. Let's go rock the house. So they go out to go take down some Strigoi. Investigate a warehouse building. Now this warehouse, if you remember, looks awfully familiar. That's right, because it's where the orphans were taken to become the feelers. So Satrakian's investigating it. And as he's looking it over, I really like this building suspense that you're going around and you're like, oh, this is where the orphans were. And you see some people from Stoneheart, like, looking, being like, oh, we got some suspicious activity. And out of nowhere, like, a dude in a black cloak takes him down, and he looks back at him. And I'm just like, it's Quinlan! And you get to see him you get to see him take down a guy, and how awesome he is, so you start to fear him a little more. And so they go down to this area where they're like, is this like a cemetery? And he's like, no, it's basically the opposite. It's a birthing chamber. They found the birthing chamber of the feelers. And that was really intense, because then all of a sudden it's basically like, the Master is here right now. We are in the same building as the Master. We need to find him. We need to take him down. So Fett's solution is, let's blow it up. Before they do that, I think this is probably the coolest part of the episode in terms of action-adventure stuff, is Quinlan shows up in the room, because they have the feelers, and they're kind of fending them off with their guns and sword, and it's cool, but then Quinlan shows up, and they don't know what to do with him, and so Satrakian is just kind of like, what the hell? hell is going on? Finally, Quinlan shows his true potential, and he takes down virtually all the feelers, and he's just like taking them out with his bone sword, and he's just like smacking, he's showing his agility and stuff, and then he pulls out 2 Uzis and just starts unloading, and I was like, man, like, Quinlan is so awesome. Like, that is the way you introduce a character to your main protagonist. And he's basically like, I've been sent here to kill the Master. I've heard of you, Satrakian. You weakened him. We're gonna work together and we're gonna fight. Then Fett goes to get the dynamite and to blow up the place. And Satrakian moves with Quinlan. And now we get our reintroduction to the new Master. Now, I said last week that I would discuss the Master and Icorst. Icorst thought that he was going to become the Master, but the Master passed on his genes to Gabriel Bolivar, which was cool because Gabriel Bolivar looks a lot creepier. But you can tell that that's building some like tension between the Master and Icorst. I really liked seeing the new Master, though. The new Master looks awesome, where he's got like this black leather coat and stuff, and he looks straight out of something like Lost Boys, and he's standing there and he's like, this body was more loyal, I am ready to take you on. And then Quinlan shows up and he's like, I am here to kill you and I am gonna ruin your day, man. And so then Icor shows up and I'm like, oh man, it's getting intense, and they just start staring each other down, and then Satrakian comes around the corner, and I'm like, it's about to get real, and then I love it because he's basically just like, oh, you know, you're weak, Master, I can beat you, I have trained, and he's like, no, I'm gonna mess you up like your mother. What does he mean? And you're just like, oh, it's so awesome, and then as you see him charge, they pull a Godzilla. From the 2014 Godzilla. They pull a Godzilla as Quinlan's running, and we're about to throw down with the new Master. Satrakian, Icorst, Fett blows up the top and just crushes everything in between. And so Quinlan's like, what did you guys just do? He's pissed, and he leaves. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna hunt him on my own. And I was like, oh no, don't go away, Quinlan. But you can see that Satrakian's wearing down because he's sitting there and he's heaving and he's grabbing his arm. Because, you know, he has a heart condition, so he's not exactly in peak condition to fight, but he's still awesome because he's Satrakian. But what I loved was that they blew it up. It shows how reckless our human team is, really. But they were so close to beating the Master there, but so far. And they bait and switched you thoroughly and pulled a Godzilla 2014 or 15, whatever it was, with the new Godzilla, where they build up this fight. I mean, they're standing there, like, ready to throw down, and they start to charge, and then boom! No fight. They're building that suspense. I would have liked to see a fight between Strigoi, because just the sheer speed and intensity between the two would have been really awesome. But I'm okay that they didn't show the fight, because that's going to make it so much more worth it when maybe things converge in the future. But I love that. That was my favorite part of the episode. That's really what I wanted to talk about. I think they're doing him really well, like a lot of justice, because Quinlan was always awesome in the books, and showing him just rip those dudes apart with like super speed, grabbing the feeler and like ripping the stinger out and stuff, and then pulling out the 2 Uzis and just rocking the house. It shows he's adapted with the times. He's a strong warrior. I love seeing this. You know, the Strain is known for its disgusting and disturbing gore and, like, just disturbing imagery. And what did we get as our last gross ew for the day? It was not a vampire puking on somebody. Oh no. It was Eldritch Palmer and his really young secretary, Coco. They decided to... That was gross, because you could just see it building and building, where she's like, oh, let me see your bedroom, and I'm like, oh. It left me with chills, unlike any of the gore that I have seen, because, ew! What did you guys think of the episode? I think we have had so many stellar episodes in the row where they know how to pace this show now fully. They're like, yeah, we are going to hit these beats every single week, and it just looks like it's getting crazier and crazier. What do you guys think? I love it. I hope you guys keep watching it. Thank you for the continuous viewership. I love you guys.